I'd like to welcome you to BMORENEWS.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. Examiner.com's Hassan Giordano. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Don?
Good. A lot of politics have been happening. A lot of things have been going on here in the city of Baltimore.
No,
Let's start with the Carl Stokes announcement.
well, Carl made it an unofficial announcement. That's what he said. It wasn't official, but he was definitely running for mayor. He said he was meeting with friends and family yesterday outside the popular Terra Cafe. It was quite, I'm still scratching my head as to why all the press was there if it wasn't the quote-unquote official announcement, but he was running. And so he made a very great points in regards to education, in regards to putting money back into the neighborhoods as opposed to the developers at the Inner Harbor, the subsidized housing, he calls it, down there at the Inner Harbor, and trying to make more affordable housing here in the communities of Park Heights and other, and especially giving more funding to schools. Who, even places like City and Poly, they're bringing their own toilet papers there, windows aren't opening, AC and heating isn't working in schools. And so he made a great point as to what he was doing. It sounds more like his 1999 mayoral campaign. As he said, nothing's really changed in 12 years since he ran last time, so we'll see what the difference is this time.
Well, has his campaign strategies improved? Because as you alluded, in '99 he lost. He and Lawrence Bell lost to Martin O'Malley, who had some 62,000 votes.
I think actually in '99 they probably had a greater campaign strategy and team then than they do now. I'm a little disturbed that we're getting close to the end of May. None of the mayoral candidates really have a campaign operation full swung. In other words, they don't have campaign managers along with campaign offices, field directors, communications directors, and so forth. And so, as I heard from the taxpayers night, a lot of politicians and people said a lot of these candidates don't seem to have the fire in their belly, and they're going to need that to run against a very well popular in the Democratic Party, at least, and very well funded Stephanie Rawlings Blake.
Okay, well, take us to taxpayers night last night down at the War Memorial Building. What happened?
It wasn't as well attended as I thought it would be. Usually taxpayers night, that one is very, very popular. It packs the second floor of War Memorial. Last night was about 100, maybe 150 people there. The council was there in full. The mayor did not come. But the full theme was full employment Baltimore. That was the common theme amongst all those who were speaking. Ralph Moore from East Baltimore did a great job. The Algebra Project and Jay Gillen were there. Only two mayoral candidates were there that I saw. That was Otis Rowley and Jody Landers. And Carl came after his announcement. But I just didn't get that theme of last year. It was very intense, especially with the increase in the bottle taxes and everything. You saw a lot of protests outside. You saw a lot of people that packed the place. It wasn't that same type of intensity this year. So I don't know if that's going to make these people make the council stand up against the mayor's proposed FY12 budget or not. A lot of people were disturbed last night that people like Council President Jack Young were playing with their Blackberries more than actually paying attention to the actual crowd. People like Donald Smith, who's a radio talk show host here on 1590, he actually spoke, and as they try to give him his 2 minutes, he said, "Hold up. You guys work for us, and I think you guys forgot that." Got a lot of cheers and applause. He told them, that when they said his time is up, he said, yeah, well, maybe some of y'all's time needs to be up this year. That was the sentiment last night. There was a lot of discontent. A lot of people were just frustrated.
Why?
Because, first of all, with the economic situation, nobody's talking about jobs. People need jobs.
So am I to really believe the election year rhetoric, or is there actual meat on the bones when I hear the term employment?
I think I haven't seen an actual plan that has the meat on the bones. It might be some rhetoric, but I think some people are passionate to it. I'm not saying that people are just saying it just to get elected. I think that they know that. People who are connected to the community know that jobs are the backbone to any successful society, as well as education.
One would think that, but this city tends to put a lot of emphasis on police and incarceration.
Both candidates, I think, after speaking with Jody Landers last night and Carl Stokes, both of them made that same point. In 1999, then mayor, now governor, Martin O'Malley made the thing of crime. 12 years later, we're still saying crime, crime, crime. Education is only 15% of the entire budget, but crime is 30 to 40%. Where has that gotten us? Nowhere.
Well, Landers said on the show, on our Tuesday show the other day, how employment was something that was important to him as it relates to the whole concept of prevention, education, prevention. And as he talked, I couldn't help but think of Pat Jessamy, who people said, or her job wasn't to be a social worker. But I'd have to think, if you've been in the business of prosecuting and arresting Baltimoreans for 15 years, I would think it's a kind of logical step for someone to start talking about prevention. Because if there's more money, more opportunity to get locked up than there is to educate oneself, it's pretty much a no-brainer where the biggest impact is going to be felt.
Well, when you represent people, you have to be a social worker because people are social. At the end of the day as you see the new prosecutor Bernstein isn't that social worker.
Like on school property, you can take the part of the street, but like you on school property, you can't be on school property doing recordings.
Okay, we're going to finish this interview. Let's just step out of the way. Okay, because we're going to keep this going. There you go. There you go.
So anyway, basically, the new prosecutor, he took a more prosecutorial standpoint. He lost his first time actually trying stuff. You also see that he did not take the hate crime seriously with the Shamron case, but we see that Scott Schellenberger in Baltimore County did so with the transgender case. A lot of people are saying that, you know, Pat Jessamy, though she didn't try the cases as he's saying he's going to try, she was that social worker. She was very effective over 15 years of incumbency. So we still have to see. He's only in his first year, but I think that you're right. Anytime you represent people and you're elected to serve people, you have to be somewhat i.e. social worker at the end of the day.
Baltimore County made it their business to be quite expeditious about labeling the transgender beating a hate crime. This was in a matter of a couple of weeks.
And he did right. Even the governor hailed it as a wonderful thing. Transgender community and the LGBT.
Was it a hate crime?
I guess that's up for them. I mean, the grand jury said it was. And I think the jury will have to decide on that.
Because they showed the tape, and they said part of the tape showed that the transgender person was winning the fight at first.
But it's not about winning or losing. It was about that these people actually purposely did this crime based on the malicious intent that this person was a transgender. Just like the Jewish individuals
Can we prove
did the
that?
crime.
Before we get to the Jewish people, I mean, because the details are still shaky, my understanding is that if a man is going into a woman's bathroom, that would cause turmoil for any group.
That's true as well.
I'm just talking about some of the extenuating circumstances. Well, in any event, they seem to have made a determination it's a hate crime. But this Werdeshim case in Park Heights, that was not a hate crime?
Well, I think that anybody who is rational would understand that it was. Even then,
but that case has been going on much longer, and we've yet to hear a word from Greg Bernstein. And I don't know if it's because he's Jewish and it happened in a Jewish community.
Oh, we heard the word, and his word is, it's not a hate crime, and I'm going to treat it as if these people are one of mine. He dropped the felony case against it, so it only leaves misdemeanor, and he refuses to bring forth a hate crime, even when these Jewish individuals told the young 15-year-old black man, you do not belong in our community.
So what does this say to the many black people who uprooted Patricia Jessamy, even when local media, at least our show, cautioned them that you've locked up everybody and now you're going to lock up our grandparents because there's no one else to lock up?
A lot of them are already saying that they've made a mistake.
Too late.
They've made a mistake. Well, it is what it is, Donnie. You really, consequences come by your actions. So people are dealing with those consequences now. But a lot of those, including people who are close to me and my family and others who voted for Mr. Bernstein or saying, Hassan, maybe we should have listened to you. Maybe we should have took Miss Jessamy into consideration and put her back in for another 4 years. So they realized their mistake, and we also see it was only 19% turnout in the African American community. So where does that leave us in 3 years from now when he comes up for re-election?
J. Wendell Gordon said that he dropped the ball on the officers. There were 21 charges against the officers. He was only able to get 2 of them to stick. So that's a less than, or roughly 10% conviction rate. That's for your state's attorneys trying cases in the courtroom.
Well, he's so close to police officers that I don't really believe that he put his full effort into convicting those police officers, to be quite honest. I think that was a show. That was political will. That's all that was. And I think a lot of people will realize that now by the outcome of that case.
Okay, Peter O'Malley's transition to City Hall, what impact has this had on the mayor?
I think, especially in the African-American community, it's negative. Again, I likened it to a Machiavellian type of move. I think on her part, it's good for her base, which is not the African-American community, obviously. But I do think
she's black.
She is black, but that's not her base. Obviously, she polls well, even greater in the white community than she does in the African-American community. Okay, so that shows you where her base is.
So what does that mean in an election where thus far we have a number of black candidates and 1 white candidate?
Well, that speaks volumes to exactly where this, as far as numbers, taking emotion, everything else out of it, numbers-wise, it looks to be right now a Jody Landers versus Mayor Stephanie Rawlins-Blake race, bottom line.
What happens when State Senator Kathy Pugh enters the race in June with a big splash?
It still doesn't matter. At the end of the day, 55 to 60% of the turnout is always white. And that base is going to be the determining factor as to who actually wins this race. Are they going to vote for Governor O'Malley's girl, Stephanie Rawlins-Blake, or are they going to vote for their own Jody Landers?
Any final thoughts?
No, that's it. Just keep watching Be More News, the news behind the news, where all the days, what is it?
Where we
uncover the truth.
The truth.